So right now I have Maggie Dong with us today. How are you doing, Maggie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm just excited to learn about you. So please just tell us about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I am a fitness and life coach and a podcaster. So, I actually focus on the four areas of fitness. So, we have the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual.
Okay.
I found that if we miss, any one of these areas, we end up
Mm.
trying to fill a void within ourselves that cannot be filled. And I've been there. I was trying to fill a void with food, with relationships, with, you know, different activities, and it was just not fulfilling to me or my life. So I realized that we have to do this work from within ourselves so that we can create a life that we truly desire.
Absolutely. And like you said, it comes from personal experience as far as for the fitness. And I know for me as a track and field athlete, I've definitely seen how fitness is not just physical and really being your best self. And so can you touch base a little bit as far as the spiritual and the emotional part of it? Because I think the world talks about mental a little bit more now, obviously physical, but the other two I feel like we're still playing catch up on.
Yeah, so the emotionals, obviously, how do you handle your emotions? Because I think a lot of people are afraid to show their emotions.
Hmm.
Emotions are repressed, or a lot of people don't have emotional control. So I feel like we see one or the other. You either don't show anything or you kind of lash it out on other people.
Right.
So there has to be like that balance where you're able to control your emotions, but you're not afraid to show it. And
Hmm.
emotions tell us so much about ourselves. Like
Right.
people, when you get angry, that's telling you something. And when you repress that anger, it's like stored in your body,
Hmm.
and eventually you get to a place where somebody will do something tiny and you lash out because you have like repressed so much emotions in your body that it needs to go somewhere.
Somewhere. Hmm.
So working on that emotional health is important because you carry that into your relationships, your life. you I see a lot of people who are afraid to be vulnerable in their relationships, but you can't build a relationship if you're afraid to show your emotions.
Right. Hmm.
And the spiritual side of everything is, I think, what really tied it together for me, because I had the physical, mental, emotional that I was working on,
Hmm.
and I was neglecting the spiritual. And I realized that the spiritual aspect was what made me find my purpose and my mission. And if I'm not connected with my soul and with my higher self, then I don't have, a reason for why I'm doing the things that I'm doing.
Hmm.
So the spiritual aspect, I think, when I work with people, when I help them, is to help them find what it is that they're really here to do. Because
Right.
we're not here to just eat and pay bills and entertain ourselves. We're
Exactly.
here for a bigger
Hmm. Right.
reason. Yeah.
And so, right, as far as the spiritual part, how do you deal with that with your clients as far as, because some people spiritual ties with religion, and then some people they kind of steer from spiritual because they're used to it being tied to religion. So how do you kind of, I guess, go against those sort of societal stereotypes when coming to talk about spirituality for your business?
So spirituality is not religion.
Hmm.
So I think people confuse the two.
Right.
You can be spiritual but not religious.
Hmm.
And spirituality is really a deeper dive into yourself, who
Hmm.
you are, your soul, and what you're here to do. So spirituality is not about worshiping other things outside of yourself. I think that can be a part of it, but at the end of the day, it's you that you need to worship,
Hmm.
and that you need to figure out who you are, and that's what spirituality is. And what I tell my clients is that spirituality is listening to that inner voice that we
Hmm.
all have, like you can call your intuition, your gut feeling. It's always been there, but it's people don't listen to that. And that inner voice is what ultimately going to take you to where you want to go
Right.
in life and give you a sense of meaning for
Hmm.
being here. So it's learning about how to trust that intuition, trust that inner voice, and understand that there is so much out there in the universe, and we're just a little
Part of
piece
it.
of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so for you, how has that benefited you as far as when you listen to that little voice? If you can give just what it's done for you in your life.
Yeah, so there's a big difference in my life when I listen to my intuition
Hmm.
versus when I listen to my ego.
Right.
And my my ego, is always telling me, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. That's too scary. What if this goes
Hmm.
wrong?" So it's that fear-based mentality, is that fear-based story that you're telling yourself. And an example that I can give is back in June, I decided to drop out of college.
Okay.
And coming to that decision, so obviously I had my intuition that was like, drop out, like this is not for you. You have something else that you can do. And then there was my ego that says, what if you drop out and it doesn't work out?
Mm-hmm.
And what if they say this? And what if, people are criticizing you, having their opinions? So it's
Right.
that fear-based story that my ego was running. But if I had listened to my ego, listened to that fear-based story, I would still be living that miserable life that I was living, doing the things I didn't want to do,
Hmm.
not following my passion. But I chose to listen to my intuition
Yeah.
regardless of the fear. And I know it's scary because your intuition might come up with something that is out of the norm and society might not accept what you're doing. But if you know for a fact that it's the right thing for you, then go do that. And now I don't have any regrets listening to my intuition, because I know that if I hadn't, I would still be miserable.
Right. Like you said, that now you're in a happier place and you took that leap and it's obviously paid off. It seems like you're in a very
Yeah.
good place.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Absolutely. Like you said, so you follow that little voice, you're in touch with yourself in many different ways. So, what do you do to take care of yourself and just be in that good flow? And obviously, then to be able to give that good flow to your clients?
Yeah, so I start my morning with meditation, and I think that makes such a big difference. I did not used to meditate because I thought it was like boring. Why would I sit here for 20 minutes
Yeah.
and do nothing? But it makes such a big difference when you can actually quiet your mind,
Mm,
because your mind is running a story, that fear-based story running in your mind.
constantly.
Is when you quiet your mind, that's when you can actually hear your intuition. So the point of meditation is not to just sit there and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You quiet your mind so that your inner voice comes out, so you can listen to that. And starting my day off with meditation, it clears my head so that throughout my day I'm able to make decisions based on my intuition. And you can strengthen this over time, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't used to be able to distinguish my ego versus intuition that
Okay.
clearly. But I mean, now I know the difference between the two, and I can clearly make a decision choosing my ego, or no, choosing my intuition over my ego.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes practice, but over time you do get better at that.
Wonderful, wonderful. I need to practice meditating. Now I've done this interview so many times with people, and that's one of the main things. I'm like, okay, clearly there's a common theme here for people who are conscious and feel good that they meditate during the day. And
Yeah.
and so, like I said, being in touch with yourself, who is an ideal client for you? Who do you usually serve? Who do you usually work with?
Yeah, so I mostly work with women,
Okay.
and I work with women on the four areas of fitness. So the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I separated my coaching pretty much into two programs to
Okay.
cover different things. I
Mm-hmm.
have one that's called Confidently Lean, and that's for the
Mm,
physical aspect of fitness. So we work on nutrition, gut health, stress, your exercise so that you can lose fat, build muscle, get strong. So that's what we do in Confidently Lean. And the other program is called Magnetic Attractor, and that's for us to work on our mental, emotional, and spiritual
mm-hmm.
fitness so that you can attract your dream relationship. So that one I think is super interesting, because most of the time, I've done this too.
Mm-hmm.
I was chasing after relationships, I was chasing after love, chasing after people, and it's exhausting. But what you can do instead is work on these areas within yourself, and then you become this magnet for pretty much your desires. People come to you, and that's what I've found in my own life, which is now what I share with my clients.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And so you see like a transformation in all aspects of their lives. And so what do you see? What is your favorite part of the four that you work with? What would you say is your favorite? And then what would you say is probably the most challenging as far as kind of getting that transformation for your clients?
I would say, I mean, personally, my favorite is the spiritual one because
Right.
I think there's so much to
Hmm.
spirituality. But I think the challenging ones, it depends on the person. I think
Okay.
some clients struggle more with the physical because they just like never want to exercise, they never want to
Yeah.
eat healthy, and others struggle with maybe the mental and emotional based on what they've experienced in their childhood. So I think it depends on the person, but that spiritual aspect, I find that it's what ties things together because when you are able to have faith in something bigger than yourself, when
Right.
you realize that
Mhm.
this is not all that there is, and your daily struggles, people who cut you off in traffic, people who piss you off at the grocery
Right.
store, like that's not all that there is in
Hmm.
life. There's so much more out there, and I think that's what makes such a big difference in people's lives because they realize that the things that I'm angry about right now, they actually don't mean that
And
much.
right, they really don't matter. And I don't need to spend
Right.
too much energy focusing on it.
Exactly.
And so, off the top of your head, what would you say is one of your favorite client success stories?
Yeah. So I actually, one of my favorites is the physical transformation,
Hmm.
actually. And I had a client who came to me, she was, barely eating any food, which I know how that feels like because I came from a place of eating disorder and
Okay.
I went through all of that. At one point in my life, I was eating like 800 calories a day trying to lose
Wow.
weight.
Hmm.
And so I have clients who come to me eating like very little food. And I think women tend to do this, that we want to lose weight and we look at what people are telling us, eat less and move more, and that's how you lose weight. But you can't be starving yourself
Right.
when you're an adult because like I think a baby, a toddler needs like 1,000 to 1,400 calories a day to survive.
Right.
And I have women coming to me eating 1,000 calories a day as grown adults,
Right.
which is not healthy for your body.
Hmm.
And I have clients, who come to me, and there was this particular one. She came to me, eating like 1,200 calories a day,
Hmm.
and she wanted to lose weight, but she didn't know what to do. So, what we actually do when women come to me eating so little food is we do this thing called a reverse diet. And that is when we increase calories over time so that your metabolism adapts to that new caloric intake. So, what's happening when these people are eating 1,200 calories a day and they can't lose weight anymore is because your metabolism adapts to that amount of
Hmm.
food that you're eating.
Hmm.
So, in order for you to lose more weight, you have to eat less and less and less. So, what we do is to make your metabolism adapt the other way. So,
Okay.
we work your way up and we worked her way up to like 2,000 calories a day,
Hmm.
and now that is her new maintenance calories. And then if we go into a slight caloric deficit, she loses weight instantly because now your metabolism is running so high, it's so much easier to lose the weight. So I think that was one of my favorite.
Yeah, I like that too, because like you said, you made it make sense. And I'm sure if your client was like, okay, it sounds weird, but when you explain why it is the way it is, it makes your client, believe in you and the system and everything too, which I'm sure makes it a little bit easier to work together.
Yeah, I think the hardest part for people when they do that is that mental hurdle that they have
Yes.
to get over
Yes.
because I mean, I've been there too when I was doing the reverse diet, trying to eat more.
Hmm.
I didn't want to believe it. I was like, I'm gonna gain so much
Wait.
weight.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen like that. And if you're, exercising, you're training your muscles, you're actually burning a lot of calories by training. So by, implementing the nutrition, you actually create this faster metabolism. And I mean, nowadays I can just share that I used to eat 800 calories a day. Nowadays my maintenance is at 2500, and
Okay.
I am like chilling on 2500, and I don't have to do anything that I don't have anything extreme to try to lose weight. I can eat 2400 calories and lose weight. Like that's the benefit of that.
Right. And really found something that works for you as well. I
Hmm.
think detrimental. And so you talked about being a podcaster. So please tell us about your podcast.
Yeah, so my podcast is called Mind, Muscle, Enlightenment, and that's where we talk about the four areas of fitness. So the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And I bring a lot of guests onto the podcast as well, just to have cool conversations. This is my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to like learn from people. But I think on the podcast, what I've been doing recently is sharing more about the spiritual side, because I think as 2020 is coming to a close, we maybe need to dive
Right.
a little bit
Realign. Yes.
dive a little bit deeper into that. So I've
Mhm.
been doing a lot of spiritual stuff on my podcast, and you can listen to it on pretty much all platforms.
Wonderful. And so, on top of your podcast, where are places that people can go for more information about you, or if they want to work with you for our listeners, where are the best places to go?
Yeah, so I'm mostly hanging out on Instagram, and that's at Maggie Dong underscore.
Mhm.
And that's where, you can check out my daily life on my story and you can come chat with me. And my podcast is Mind Muscle Enlightenment on all platforms. And there is a link in my Instagram bio that will take you to the coaching programs that I mentioned. So Confidently Lean, Magnetic Attractor. I also offer just like single one-on-one coaching sessions.
Wonderful. Well, Maggie Dong, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing all of that. You all go to those podcast, Instagram. It sounds like some great information. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.